reading book on pausing and institutions. Written by me, Eric Wadell. First draft, February 2026. Chapter 9. Worn out situation. When we feel too tired, cut off, or lonely. Pausing, institutions, and worn out. We have reached our fifth and final situation that is useful to pause in. Worn out is when we feel heavy, tired, isolated, and out of ideas. The difficulty in this kind of situation lies in just this, that we many times are too tired to be able to change our circumstances. The reason why we feel worn out is that we lack symmetry in our relationships. Symmetry here is not that you and I should be completely the same way towards one another. You are you and I am I, but you are not I. Symmetry here is, however, that we share a sense of togetherness in the relationship. In one part, it is about us both sharing real risk. And in another part, it is about us focusing on a shared goal or object of interest. Whenever we lack such shared risk and focus, the result is that we feel worn out. So, both the person seemingly on top and the person seemingly at bottom are equally worn out by the asymmetry. Only that the asymmetry expresses itself differently in the heart of the one on top and the one at bottom. The institutions of today contain both symmetries and asymmetries, and it all depends on where we are looking. Also, any certain relationship have both symmetry and asymmetry within it, like two levels or layers. Usually in our institutions, we focus on the superficial or conventional layer in our relationship. What title we have and what responsibilities and privileges that come with it. This superficial layer is almost always asymmetric by design, with you being my boss in one way or another, or I being your boss. And in it, we are independent from one another. The second, deeper layer we might call our layer of symmetry. And in it, we are codependent on each other. There is always such a deeper layer within all of our relationships. There is always some shared risk and point of focus, although hidden or latent, even when it does not seem like it. We pause and communicate on both the superficially asymmetrical level and on the deeper symmetrical level. We also pause and know that there are independent truths in our relationships, but also codependent truths. Pausing in our worn out situation. When pausing with our worn out situation, there are 3 aspects which are effective to start with. The first one is about talking and listening, or more specifically, to talk and listen in such a way so that talking and listening lean on each other. Practically, we go about this by pausing and by asking ourselves if it is at this certain moment would be the most interesting to talk or listen. Often we find ourselves talking too much or listening too much out of sheer habit, and it is in cases of such imbalanced communication that we feel worn out as a consequence. The second aspect is about us being sometimes alone and sometimes together. And more specifically, to be alone in such a way that we may be together, and be together in such a way that we may be alone. Like with talking and listening, solitude and company lean on each other, and each one affirms the integrity of the other. The person never being alone is not really present in the company of others. And the person never being in the company of others is not really present for themselves. For both of these persons, the feeling is the same, feeling worn out. The third thing is about enthusiasm, and more specifically, to free up forgotten enthusiasm. We may call this freeing up of forgotten enthusiasm traction. Traction is both a feeling and a skill that we may develop. It goes like this. Whenever we meet with another person where our starting point looks dull, we try this and that until we sort of hook onto each other. It has a mutual feel to it, and that is when we are close to some point of shared risk and focus. While focused in this sort of state of mind, we feel enthusiasm rising up spontaneously to the surface from within. Like this, enthusiasm goes hand in hand with shared risk and focus. Pausing in our worn out situation always feels awkward in the beginning. And like we stated earlier, it has to do with that the situation in itself has us being listless and inattentive. It may differ which one of the three aspects is the best to start pausing with. So we try this and that until some inner energy and ambition present themselves. This has to do with our competitiveness. If we are not competitive in our desires, we will not get anywhere in our efforts. It has to come from a center of personal truth. It has to be genuine. We pause and acknowledge that we are tired and isolated. We also pause and acknowledge that there is a center of desire within us. Dual loyalty to institutions and worn out. It is a common experience to feel worn out within our modern institutions. It is perhaps one of the most common experiences of all. In addition, it is near impossible to not feel extra worn out when trying to combine our different key institutions into any enthusiastic whole. This sentence looks even naive on paper. Trying to combine our families, communities, workplaces, schools, online platforms, nations, and so on, and to feel genuinely enthusiastic about the overall picture that they are forming. We may instead feel resigned about it. It could be that it is not possible to not feel resigned about it. It could be that the most interesting starting point instead is to pause and acknowledge that enthusiasm perhaps is not fully necessary. Our worn out situation can be unenthusiastic and still be interesting. Our fatigue can be interesting in that it is so certain. Our fatigue can be proof that we really are making an effort, proof that we really care. Like this, our fatigue can be proof that we believe in something, or otherwise we would not even have bothered. Like this, our fatigue can be proof that we carry something of great worth inside of us, something that is looking for its counterpart in our outside. Our dual loyalty when it comes to institutions and our worn out situation is then that we are resigned about it on the one hand, and that we do believe in it on the other. We may have a resigned kind of symmetry between us, and we may also have a believing kind of symmetry as well. In cases of the resigned kind of symmetry, we find ourselves dwelling in the superficial layer of independent roles assigned to us. And in cases of the believing kind of symmetry, we find ourselves in a state of deeper communication with each other, codependent and sharing real risk and focus. "40,000 years ago, we might imagine that every tribe was thorough in its practice of some certain beliefs. Or at least it would have been close to impossible to keep a tribe cohesive over a sustained period of time without it. So in our modern days, whenever we wish to keep a group of people cohesive over time, there is similarly a logical need for some sort of shared set of beliefs, and that those beliefs must be heartfelt in order to be effective. This seems to hold true for families, workplaces, and schools alike. This seems to hold true for most every and any modern institution. We pause and ask ourselves, what are the shared set of beliefs here? In what ways do we share real risk and focus? We also pause and ask ourselves, what will keep us together for but a short time, or for a while, or for a long time? Our ambition here is not to find any set of beliefs that will keep us together in all of our institutions for the longest of times. That would both be logically and practically impossible. Our ambition here is, however, to pause and reflect upon which single institution that is our favorite, and then from that favorite also find which institutions that should support it. This ambition comes down to personality and preference. We all have our favorite institutions, as well as less preferred institutions. We pause and ask ourselves, what is my favorite institution? Or the one I want to keep cohesive for the longest time? Sometimes our favorite institution is our favorite because we want to keep it going forever. And that is when our favorite is the same thing as its longevity. At other times, our favorite is instead a short-lived institution, and that it is our favorite because it is brief in duration, but powerful in nature. Still, some institutions are both long-lived and powerful. Our priorities hold true worth when we have reflected upon them and still stand by them. The consequences of our choices hold true worth when we have studied the meanings of their causes. We pause and find our dual loyalty when it comes to our worn out situation to be the old emotional loyalty, being codependent believing symmetry, and the new intellectual loyalty, being independent, resigned symmetry. Now we have looked at all of our 5 situations and of pausing and what they mean for us and for our institutions. Next, we will attempt to assemble our thoughts and draw some conclusions. We will also return to the metaphor that we started out this book with, the town central square, and arrive at one final internal image about institutions.